Welcome to Cigar Time, your friendly Tuesday evening cigar show featuring cigar stars. And our cigar stars today are
Rob,
John, Paul,
Ringo.
Mike.
Scritto.
Hot tea.
What happened to
Scritto.
Ringo?
Scritto.
What's
That's an
Scritto?
old email address of his.
Mm.
Scritto.
And nobody got to hear me say hot tea. Thank you.
Okay, well
Hot
today
tea.
we're going to cover a number of things. First, we're going to talk about the Perdomo Champagne Sun-Grown. After that, we're going to talk about the Cuban embargo on cigars, which is a very interesting topic. Then we're going to have Paul again, fresh from being in the field, tell us more about the art of cigars. Then we're going to have a final topic of what goes well with cigars in the way of food. Great topic. Okay,
You tell from all of us.
why don't we let Lucia tell us about our cigar today?
Yes, our cigar today is the Perdomo Champagne Sun-Grown. The wrapper is a Nicaraguan Sun-Grown, and the binder and the filler is a Nicaraguan as well. So what does it make it, guys?
A Nicaraguan Puro.
That's right. The sizes are Churchill, Corona, Perfecto, Robusto, Toro, Torpedo, and my favorite, Gordo. The taste profile is rich, spicy, medium to full, nice body experience.
An out-of-body experience.
An
Is that
out-of-body
in or out?
In inner body experience.
Well,
On the tongue.
thank you
Wow.
very much for that
Depends on where you
exciting,
put the cigar.
riveting commentary.
You're welcome.
Our first subject today is the Cuban embargo. How has it impacted cigars throughout the world for about the last 50-odd years?
We're not
Can we
toasting.
light our cigars
Oh,
first?
Lighting and
I
toasting.
forgot. The cutting and lighting ceremony.
Remember, cut quickly.
Cut quickly. Cut quickly.
Quickly,
Smoke,
quickly cut.
smoke quickly.
I can't do it fast.
Cut quickly, smoke quickly.
Yeah. All we get to do is be on television
Light
and talk about cigars
slowly.
and light them and smoke
Move
them.
like
My
me
God.
slowly.
Life is good.
Just look at me slowly.
I wish you all could be here enjoying this.
Make her hot slowly. Is that what you're saying?
We'd love to have you here.
We've got Scratch and Sniff TV.
We'd love to have you here. Tickets are available.
Scratch and Sniff TV. They can smell the cigars.
Better than that, winking.
Somebody is making a scratch or sniff television, aren't they? Certain
No.
shows. Yes, I heard. You'll be able to smell the flavor.
I don't know about that. but
Well, I guess I'm gullible.
I
Can't
do
like-
know that Google currently has the necessary technology
To make smell-o-vision.
to make smell-o-vision.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And there you heard it first.
Google has
and
everything.
Smell-o-vision.
I don't want to smell anything that comes.
All right,
off
the embargo.
television.
Here, Mark. Well, Scott, since you brought it up,
You can
well, why don't
start.
you talk about it to lead off?
We're not allowed to have Cuban stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. That was very enlightening, Scott.
Yeah,
Like, we
people
don't do
always,
that.
Next
people
up.
always call it the Cuban embargo, and it's not a Cuban embargo. It's an American
American
embargo
embargo.
on
That's
Cuba.
Cuban good. Well, having traveled to this wonderful island many, many, many times, legally, I might add, I can tell you that the Cuban people to a T love America. It's strictly a government-to-government type of situation. Of course,
shame.
I think I speak for all of us, we're about 180 degrees opposite of the communist totalitarian government in Cuba. But having said that, the people are just divine. And the cigars, in a lot of cases, are very, very good. Some years better than other years. But this is an embargo that should have been lifted a long time ago. It serves no great purpose. All it does is keep American ingenuity, infrastructure, and dollars out of an island of 12 million people that could certainly use it. The Europeans are taking advantage of it and building beautiful hotels, resort areas, and slowly but surely, a little bit of freedom is creeping into the island, more free enterprise is creeping into the island, but still, no cigars are legally reaching our shores. And unfortunately, a lot of cigars that people buy in this country thinking they're really Cuban are truly more like Dominicans for the most part. No fast rule of thumb, but if you smell the foot of the cigar, which is the part where you light it, if you smell the foot and it smells really nice and floral and everything, it's not
a
Cuban.
Cuban.
It's not Cuban. There are many ways to detect a phony cigar.
Comes in
That's-
cellophane.
Yeah, it comes in cellophane.
Or a glass top
or a
box.
glass top humidor.
Yeah.
None of those exist in Cuba.
Triple cap.
Yeah, most, not all. Some cheaper cigars, especially the machine-made cigars,
Right.
are not triple cap.
Machine mains do come in cellophane.
Cellophane, some of the lesser
Yeah.
brands. But generally, the kind of brands that are foisted in this country as legitimate Cubans will have the triple cap, will not have cellophane on it. And you got to be a little leery and a little wary. The best way to detect a phony Cuban is to smoke it. I mean, if it doesn't smoke well, it burns unevenly, or the colors in the box are not quite the same color, size.
It is easier to tell whether they're legitimate or not if you have a full box. There are other
Yeah,
markings on the box.
Absolutely.
Holographics under black light that you can take a look at.
Serial numbers,
Yep.
stuff like that.
And I think the main, even when the embargo is eventually lifted, the main problem is going to be a lot of the distributors in Europe, in the Middle East, in certain other countries who have supported Cuba throughout the last 50 or 60 years, supplied them with the capital for refrigeration and the
Agriculture.
agricultural projects, which the Cuban government has been a little short on. They're not going to roll over and just say, "Hey, ship all the cigars to our Yankee brothers." They're not going to say that at
They're
all.
not going to give them up. The Cuban probably wouldn't do that either.
No. So I think, especially since the Cuban, what they call an enterprise, the Cuban cigar enterprise is half owned by a French and Spanish
Right.
consortium called Altadis. It's a long way from getting Cuban cigars, even when the embargo is lifted.
Well, there's a number of things. One is supply. I mean, the amount of cigars that are readily available made now, and the raw materials are going to have to grow a lot more tobacco to meet demand in the U.S. I mean, you've even got train rollers. You got to build molds. I mean, there's thousands of things that have to happen, and they haven't even gotten to the biggest issue.
I think
And some of them can't happen.
No, can't.
Right.
They
You
can't
you
produce
grow, yeah,
enough.
you can't grow enough
Yeah.
tobacco.
Every time they try to get more than about 150 million premium cigars out of the ground, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
The quality goes down, the soil gets raped, and it just doesn't work.
I think that happened a few years ago too.
Yes, it's
Was it
happened quite a few times.
2008, I think.
Yeah,
was
they
the-
tried to get extra plantings.
And every time a bad hurricane goes over
Oh,
the,
yeah.
the northwestern part of the island, it's always bad. They've had blue mold problems
Yeah,
even
they
down
get
there.
a visit
Yeah.
from the blue mold.
So it's hard to visualize anything more than some tobacco being sold into maybe the Dominican or Nicaragua, where blended cigars are going to be made as opposed to pure Cuban.
Except that consumers will be able, it will be legal, so that if
Oh,
they
yeah.
bring them in from
Yeah.
another
Right, they
country,
put them in
correct.
for other countries,
you
right?
will be able to get them. But how much? What are they missing much?
You know something?
I don't think so.
Yeah, back in the early 70s, before the original Sandinista revolution, the cigars of Nicaragua, and those of you who are old enough to remember the old Joya de Nicaraguas, they were overtaking Cuba. They were starting to make cigars that were better than Cuba. And of course, the Sandinistas retarded the growth of the Nicaraguan cigar business by 30 years.
I love the way you say Nicaragua.
I know, right? I was just listening to
Am I saying it wrong?
No,
I thought I was saying it right.
Very
you are.
right,
I just
yes.
like the way
My
it rolls
Nicaraguan
off your
friends
tongue.
say it that way.
It rolls off your tongue.
And if you think about it, some of the finest cigars that are sold in this country are Nicaragua.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, I think...
This one right here.
Like the one we're smoking.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Puro.
what'll happen, there'll be a short-term boom. I believe the Cubans will be well overpriced, very expensive.
Yes.
I mean, they're expensive throughout the world. They're really more expensive in this country. Two major companies, the two largest companies in America that sell premium cigars, own the rights
The names.
to all the names.
Yep.
Plus, one of the companies, Altadis, is the partner of Cuba Tobacco.
So they're gonna have they would have a distinct advantage over the other large.
Well, yeah, but things have to be settled before these brands can be sold in this country. This
What
may not be that easy.
Yeah, what we're getting at is you can't just roll in and start selling a cigar called Punch or Hoya de Monterrey, because those names are owned by another company. So
General
you can't
Cigars,
just,
yeah.
Cohiba.
Yeah.
You can't just roll in and start selling that because for legal reasons. And I think that'll be one of the biggest hurdles, aside from all the other stuff that we mentioned.
Yeah, I just don't see it for a long time. I don't see any quantity. The quality lately has not been the best. You know, guys bring in cigars purportedly to be real Cuban. We look at them, half the time I think they really are phonies.
Right.
And even the ones that I think are
You
legit.
can definitely tell
But
by the
even-
bands.
Yeah.
I think
No, you can't tell by the bands at all.
Yeah.
No, they knock
No,
those
the
off.
counterfeit-
Oh, they stopped that a
100%.
while ago?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah, the
You know, I've been
technology
gone
is
for a while.
The counterfeiters can go right to the band companies and
Buy
get
the
the same
same
band. They
band,
buy
yeah.
overlays.
Yeah, that's true.
And the dressing on the boxes and the holographs and all those things, I mean, that's all copyable.
Some of the counterfeits are even Cuban tobacco. They're
Oh, yeah,
just
yeah,
not
yeah,
the
yeah.
cigar that they
Absolutely.
purport to be.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of Cubans come in places from like Spain and Gibraltar and Hong Kong, and I've seen some of these boxes, and they're legit boxes, but the quality of the cigars. I mean, an old dear friend of mine who's in charge of the agrarian projects west of Havana, and also has France, Switzerland, and the Benelux countries as his sales territory. I speak to him every once in a while, and he lets me know when the quality's good and the quality's bad. And the last few years, the quality has not been exactly stellar.
Well, you've always told me there's two different makings too. You said
Well,
the
yeah,
city
there's-
factories and whatever. it's
They
different.
will never admit this, but I've heard it from within the inner sanctum. There's Turista grade, which goes to the islands in places like Mexico and places like that throughout the world. And then there's the English market selection, which goes to like places like Spain and Switzerland and some of the higher, like Hong Kong, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and a lot of where there's concentrations of wealth or concentrations of discerning cigar smokers. They put the good stuff in there, and that's true.
I have had real Cuban cigars. I can't say that they are better than like a Patron or even this cigar. I will say that they're different.
They are
They're
different.
not. I can't say that they're not enjoyable, but I just don't see them being better. They're Cuban tobacco does have a different taste and a different flavor.
If you notice, I won't say the only cigars, but if you notice, the Nicaraguan cigars have a very similar ash profile
Yeah, that
to the
grayish-
Cuban cigars.
Right.
They have that, charcoal, dirty ash, as I call it.
I think Max had something to say.
Yeah.
Well, there are two things I'd like to say. One about Cuban cigars versus non-Cuban cigars, and that's very much like the wine industry in the United States in the early 20th century didn't compare with European.
Not at all.
Now it rivals anything coming out of France, and much can be said about the cigar industry, where you've got quality tobacco and quality cigar makers in the major countries now of Ecuador and Nicaragua and Honduras and of course the Dominican Republic, and they've become a lot more sophisticated in blending their tobaccos, and with the infinite variety of tobacco available now, you can get a unique taste that suits virtually any palate.
Not to correct you for a minute, I don't think the first growth wineries in Bordeaux would concede that California or New York State
Well, that's
makes
just
a
French.
Bordeaux as good as France.
That's
And-
the French
and the
being
People that are
French.
now paying $600,000 a bottle for rare Bordeaux's would agree with you that you just
Yeah.
can't compare.
No, I had that, and I still like the California.
I limit myself to just one or two of those bottles a year. That's a little too rich for my taste.
But my point is still that the quality of the product now is infinitely better than it was 150 years
Oh,
ago.
yes, yes.
What-
So the
what
same
it-
thing is now true in the cigar industry.
No, I agree. I
absolutely.
agree.
I
It
agree.
pays to remember, however, that Cuba has a 500-year head start over all the other
Yes.
countries
That's true.
in learning everything there is to
True.
learn about
That
tobacco
is
and
true.
making cigars out of it.
But when they had the embargo, or not the embargo, I'm sorry, but when
They had the revolution.
Castro took over, he pushed a lot of that knowledge away from Cuba.
They all fled.
A lot of
Yes,
them left.
yes and
They
no.
were younger, but
Yes and no. The old masters, the Rabañas, there are a lot of people down
Still
there that you
there.
never heard of
Right.
in this country. But believe it or not, yes, a lot of the household names in the American cigar business today, did flee the island, or their
Correct.
families fled the island, but a lot remained down there. A lot of people were tied to the soil, so to speak.
Yeah.
So they didn't miss too many beats. Would have been nice if some of the, the Padrones or the Fuentes or any number of others we could name.
right.
But believe me, Cuba is still the holy grail of cigars. And if they ever could get Yankee dollars down there, if this embargo were lifted and things would come a little easier to them in certain agricultural things like the refrigeration and the fermentation processes, you know, they do things the old-fashioned way. There is a lot of agricultural shortcuts, and I don't mean shortcuts to quality, but shortcuts in the production steps that they could use Yankee technology and know-how, especially like on the agrarian side. So I think we can only help them make a better cigar once the embargo is lifted, and maybe get a better yield, or in turning over their crops and planting soybeans the proper way to get the tobacco mixed with the soybeans. I mean, there's a lot of ways to increase the yield and increase the quality that they're missing by not having us down there.
Right.
Okay.
Did you say mixed tobacco and soybeans?
Well, not at the same time. Turn the soil over. Turn the soil over.
Yeah.
I think, are we covered enough, Cuba?
Yes.
We toured the whole island now?
Yeah.
Yes.
If you want to travel, like, I can go on and on and on. I've been everywhere in
That's
Cuba.
okay.
All right.
Next show.
Okay, let's move on. I think at this point in the program, it's time for us to resume our commentary with Paul in the field. Take it away, Paul.
Hi, guys and gals. If you remember last week, we left off at the completion of fermentation. So the leaves were all fermented. But now what you have is hundreds of piles containing thousands of pounds of leaves. And what do you do with them? Well, the first thing you do is you call in the strippers.
Hey! Cheers!
Come on, guys. I was waiting for that to happen.
Wait a second. I've been in a lot of tobacco plants. I don't recall strippers.
Oh, you cannot do tobacco business without strippers.
I think I know which kind of strippers you're talking about.
The people referred, or the women, I should say, referred to as strippers in cigar plants are the people who strip the stems out of the leaves. And if you ever get a chance to see people doing it in the traditional way, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
They lay each leaf flat on a table. They spray it with just a little bit of water to make sure it's nice and elastic. They spread their hand over the leaf at a certain angle and take the end of the stem, wrap it around their wrist, and they snap their wrist, and the whole stem comes out wrapped around their wrist like a little rat's nest. And then what they have are two perfectly even halves with no stem in the middle. So stripping is a big job when you're talking about literally thousands and thousands of pounds of tobacco.
Good tips, too.
The tips are excellent. You got to bring a lot of $1 bills. So now the tobacco is stripped, and at that point begins another process that is long, labor-intensive, and very important, and that's sorting. And there are a lot of different parts to the process of sorting tobacco. The first is that you have to sort it by where on the plant it came from, because leaves from, and I think I mentioned this last time, leaves from different places on the plant have very different flavors. And they're classified by height. So the lowest level leaves on the plant are called velado, and they're primarily used in the filler. And if you go up after 2 layers of velado, you come to a section of leaves called seco, which in Spanish means dry. And it's not that the leaves are dry, it has more to do with the flavor of the leaves, which is kind of dry and a little bit astringent in your mouth. If you continue on up the plant, you come to the viso. Viso is closer to the sun, so it undergoes more photosynthesis. It's a more flavorful and stronger leaf. Actually, the higher up the plant you go, the stronger it gets. And viso is mostly used to add oomph to filler, but it's occasionally used as a wrapper just because somebody wants to really bump up the power of their cigar. Next up the plant is the ligero, which you probably hear about a lot because ligero is the primary...
Really?
Am I boring you?
Wow.
Wow.
He's ready for his hot date. That's what his problem is.
Wow.
Can you believe
Are we
that?
keeping you up?
I can stop if you want.
They're making me drink this decaf coffee.
Did you have
now.
too
That's
much
what the problem
Chinese
is.
food for dinner?
Ooh, I got that one.
Oh, wow.
Finally
Yeah,
one.
she can't see this shit.
Anyway, ligero is the leaf that is used primarily to add strength to a cigar. Depending on how it's fermented, Lajero can add many different kinds of flavors, but they're all strong and intense. And finally, at the very top of the plant, you have two more layers. One is called Corona. They're slightly smaller leaves. They're only used in filler, even though they have a lot of flavor. And then there are little tiny leaves at the very top that are called Medio Tiempo, middle time. And those are called that basically because they haven't really had enough time to grow, and you don't let them because they're just going to suck flavor out of the rest of the plant. So you have to sort all of this tobacco by where on the plant it came from. Once you've done that, you now have to focus on the wrappers. And uniformity of color and placement of veins in the leaf is very important in the ultimate appearance of the cigar. So sorting the leaf by color and vein placement is really crucial. Generally speaking, this is only done by women because, genetically speaking, women's eyes see color differentiation better than us guys do. And basically, the sorting rooms in a tobacco plant are enormous tables with bright lights directly overhead so that they can look at the leaves, sort them by color. By the way, there are 7 different classifications of color of wrapper tobacco.
Yes.
You know, we think of natural or claro, we think of rosado, we think of oscuro and maduro, but there are classifications between those, so there are 7 in total. Once that's done, everybody trades tables and they do it again. And the reason for that is just to put another set of eyes
Yeah,
on every
break
group
it
of
down.
leaves and make sure that they're truly, truly uniform. So now you have sorted wrappers, and you have lots of filler and some binder, and the process then moves on to blending, where someone decides which kinds of tobacco to combine to get the flavor that they want. But that's going to be for another episode.
Very well put.
I have a question.
Make it a quick
I'll
one.
make up an answer.
All right,
Don't make up
why
an
should
answer.
we believe you? No, I wanted
Because
to
he
talk
says
about-
it. He says it with such
Yeah.
My
conviction.
point was that
It
Paul
sounds
has,
like he knows
Paul
what
has
he's
a
talking
lengthy
about.
background in tobacco, and
Oh, I
thought it
thought
would be
you
helpful.
were going to say he has a lengthy background in BS.
no.
Well, that too.
Or he has a BS from
I
college.
think he introduced him with the lengthy background.
Well,
No, he didn't.
that
Did
was
you-
very, very educating and enlightening, and I'm really thrilled to have heard all that for the umpteenth millionth time. But you know what? As funny as that may sound, I just love hearing, as much as I know about this stuff, I love hearing
I
it.
always hear something different.
No,
Well, I
because-
changed
No. I mean, when I pick up on something different every time I listen to Paul, there's something that I didn't
Yeah.
either hear or something new he adds to it
You
that
know,
I
you know
didn't
what I
know.
like about listening to Paul? The passion that he
Yes.
has.
Yeah, he does have a passion.
Let me
He
tell
has a
you
passion.
that as much as I love blending, which is my absolute favorite thing to do, I am crazy about everything to do with the tobacco. I love
I
to be in
believe
the
that.
fields when we're putting the
I
plants
believe
out. When we're picking the orphans off the plants, I love to get out there, and the smell in the fermentation barns
Yeah.
is like pure. You don't even have to smoke. You can
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
be in there, and there's all of this great stuff in the air.
Well, I think it's time now to review our cigar.
We can
So,
do that.
Good to me.
let's start with Rob. I'm pretty sure I know what Rob's going to say.
Perdomo Sungrown Champagne. This, in my opinion, is the best champagne that they make.
This is a relatively new cigar.
It is a
not-
very new cigar, and I just love every aspect of it. I love Nicaraguan tobacco. This really suits my taste palette. I could smoke this cigar every day. I think it's a fantastic cigar.
That and Romeo, and you're in business.
Yeah, that and this and Romeo's, yeah.
John?
All day long.
I think it's a really well-made cigar. It's not my taste at all.
I figured that. John? John. Paul?
Paul.
Ringo?
George. I like this cigar a great deal. I find that the sun-grown wrapper was a tremendous addition to the line.
Right.
I like
Yeah.
the Connecticut, I like the
opened it up a
Noir,
lot.
the Maduro,
Yeah,
but I
opened it
think
up.
this is a step up, and
Yeah.
I like it.
Mike?
I like the cigar, but it's a little above my normal taste profile.
Yeah, okay.
But it's very good. I do enjoy it.
Interesting.
I love it. I love Nicaraguan tobacco. I love sun-grown tobacco. This is very flavorful. I agree with Rob. This is also my favorite in the champagne line. Very sweet. I get a very sweet taste to it.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
I'm tasting bits of vanilla in there, like something creamy.
Yeah.
Nice, rich, creamy taste. Perdomo Champagne's one of my favorites. I actually like the Connecticut better. I think
Okay,
because
that
the
doesn't
wrapper
surprise
makes
me.
it a little less spicy for me.
Right.
So with the sun grown, it's a little bit too much. But overall, I like the cigar, and I'm trying to not ash.
Grow an ash.
Yeah, so I'm gonna smoke this as long as I can.
You
before
don't
it
want to make an
falls.
ash out of yourself.
How you
So
like the band?
we're gonna. Oh, and I love the band. The band is sexy.
There you go.
Sexy.
So there you go.
Sexy,
everybody.
sexy
The
band.
band, the band is back.
Women's
So-
bodies for your man.
So
Sexy
remember, men, this cigar, women will think the band is sexy.
Yes.
And my critique, pretty much along the lines, it's funny how knowing you all so well and also oh so long, in some cases too long, I kind of know in advance what you're going to say about the cigar before you say it. And although some of you commented that it was a little above the strength profile that you like, and I'm a little sensitive to that too as I get older and older and older. I find it a very enjoyable cigar,
Yeah,
very
nice
tasty, has a
medium.
semi-sweet finish on the palate. I think it's an excellent cigar. So let's rate it.
All right.
Who wants to go first?
I'm gonna go first. Oh, because it's a sun grown, I'm gonna go 4.25.
Very good. Scott?
4.6, and the more I smoke these, the more I like them, actually. They're getting better every time.
Okay.
There's a leg up on it.
Mike?
3.75.
Yeah, it doesn't shock me.
A little too strong for him.
Yeah, it doesn't shock me.
It's a good cigar. I do enjoy it, but it's just
You can't
Too
handle
much
it.
for you.
Yeah.
Can't all be
You
fives.
can't
I
handle
have
it.
some bubblegum cigars.
El
Nice sweet
Bublo.
finish on those.
They have
Yes.
very sweet finish. They'll rot your teeth. Paul?
4.25.
Thank you, Paul.
375.
4.5.
Yeah, I go solid 4.5. Yeah, I'm with you. It's got, again, the right price value,
Yeah.
quality. You know, it's a great cigar. It's just very good.
Is this going to be at the Big Ash Bash? This
Am I going to be at the Big
No,
Ash
is
Bash?
this
I plan
cigar
on-
going to be?
Yeah,
Yes, it-
absolutely.
it was.
It'll be
Was.
available. Yeah.
Should we tell
It
people what the
was.
Big
It
Ash
was.
The Big
Bash
Ash
is?
Bash was weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh,
week-
yeah,
come
right.
on.
The all
Where were you at?
time. He's
You were in
smoked too
coma?
many cigars.
in the
fell
field.
asleep.
Today's
I was
the-
out in the field.
Today's the
Yeah.
6th of November.
No, it was the one. It was the when he woke up at 1 o'clock this morning,
Yeah, I
and then
know.
he smoked. He smoked the cigar with the wine and everything. I think it messed his.
I
up
think
a little bit.
I think you were thinking of the Little Ash Bash.
Yeah.
And he's
Well, every day is a little Ash
he's
Bash.
preparing for 2014 as well.
Yeah, that's it.
Let everybody know that we now have a sister business right down the road from our Horsham store. It's called Barbecue, BBQ.
Where'd you get that name from?
We sell chicken soup.
Yeah.
If you want some great barbecue, man, oh man alive, this is some very good stuff. I guarantee you. You don't like it? Come see me. I'll give your money back. This is great stuff.
Wow.
So if you know where the Horsham store is, a few doors down is Barbecue. Please try it out. You'll really like it.
For
And-
those of you who know Art, for him to give money back,
Hey, I live for it. Well, the half hour has flown by so fast again.
Wow.
So I think it's time to say goodbye, Miss Tia.
Bye bye for now.
have a good evening, Delaware Valley.
Have a nice evening.
Smoke often and smoke happy.
I gotta get a catchphrase.
And remember, it's just been another beautiful day in paradise.
Ciao, everybody.
On behalf of all of us here at Cigar Cigars, we appreciate your patronage and just want to remind you again, our website is cccigars.com. That's CCigars.com. They